effect until 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time this afternoon. Small craft advisory in effect from 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time this afternoon through this evening. Today, southwest wind 25 to 35 knots, becoming west 15 to 25 knots late. Wind waves 4 to 6 feet, subsiding to 2 to 4 feet. West swell 22 feet at 16 seconds. Showers and scattered thunderstorms. Tonight, west wind 15 to 25 knots, becoming southwest 10 to 20 knots in the evening. Wind waves 1 to 4 feet. West swell 20 feet at 15 seconds. Showers and chance of thunderstorms. Sunday, south wind 10 to 15 knots, rising to 15 to 25 knots late in the morning, then rising to 20 to 30 knots in the afternoon. Wind waves 1 or 2 feet. Showers and scattered.
It's not always like this, of course. The Pacific Ocean got its name from early explorer Ferdinand Magellan, because compared to the rest of the seven seas, it seemed, in his opinion, to be a relatively tranquil body of water. Sometimes that's true, sometimes not. On the west coast of the United States, there are not many places remaining that are still truly wild, that have not been paved over, that have not been transformed by human activity into pale images of their past. Here, at the corner of the country, however, on the Olympic coastline of Washington State, the untamed shore looks much the same as it has for thousands of years. The relentless action of the surging water on the ancient stone is timeless. The beauty and the danger that it hides is very real. The Ikkatsu expedition is a group of 3 kayakers traveling the roadless Olympic coast. The course they steer will lead them through scenes of exquisite beauty, as well as isolated moments of peril. Pleasure and pain mixed together in one of the last truly pristine environments in the lower 48. Although the surroundings are part of the story, it's hardly the full account. This tale, the story of Ikkatsu, has its beginning 6,000 miles away in one of the greatest disasters of the century. It was the middle of the afternoon in Japan, Friday, March 11th, 2011, the day the world turned completely upside down. When the earth shook, the resulting 9.0 magnitude quake was the largest ever to hit the Japanese archipelago, and one of the 5 largest tremblers ever recorded. Tsunami waves of more than 120 feet smashed into the coast. In a matter of moments, 20,000 people were killed or missing. Buildings and homes either vanished completely or were reduced to rubble. The flotsam from the tsunami and its arrival on the west coast of North America is a driving factor in the Ikkatsu expedition. Although it is early in the process and the majority of the debris is not expected to hit until later in the year, a significant number of items have already made landfall. The expedition, using the survey techniques of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and coordinating results with local NOAA and DNR scientists, is attempting to quantify the current effects of the tsunami and establish a baseline for future observations. The Ikkatsu paddlers are 3 professional kayakers with extensive expedition experience. Project supervisor Ken Campbell is a guide and author whose previous trips include a circumnavigation of Newfoundland and various other kayaking adventures in Alaska, British Columbia, and Mexico.
I've been kayaking since 1986. It seems like an awful long time now. I started when I was living in Ikkatsu, Alaska, and I've been guiding and instructing since the early 90s. I think the most challenging part of this trip for me anyway involves the preparation and the planning and trying to get everything done in my head before I actually have to go out and do it for real. I think that that's going to be the most difficult part, and we'll find out whether it works or not once we get out there.
In addition to assisting with the project research, Steve Weilman is director of photography, supervising the filming process throughout the Ikkatsu expedition. An accomplished kayaker, Steve's paddling career has taken him to a variety of locations, and the images he has produced bring those places to life for others.
Though I've been making short films for a while now, I haven't done anything on this scale, and that's going to be a bit of a challenge. We're going to be in a marine environment for days on end, and capturing quality footage is going to push my skill set a little bit.
The third member of the expedition is Jason Goldstein, longtime guide and instructor. His experience with mapping and GIS procedures will assist the team in identifying which areas to concentrate on as they prepare their beach surveys.
My name is Jason Goldstein. My mates call me Kiwi. I've been kayaking since 1980, so I'm 30 years, yeah. We have a lot of duties and responsibilities on this trip, so we're paddling some beautiful coastline, but we're also, I think the challenging part is going to be getting the survey work and the scientific part of the expedition is what I'm looking forward to.
The town of Neah Bay sits almost at the tip of the Olympic Peninsula. It's a place apart, not really on the way to anywhere else. From Cape Flattery, the corner of the country, the stunning views to the west give an inkling of the size of the vast Pacific. 6,000 miles of almost uninterrupted salt water lie between the solitary, wind-battered Cape and her nearest neighbor. The closest land in that direction is Hawaii, and beyond that, Japan.
All right, and now we can just go backwards with it.
You see, Flattery is just an amazing place to paddle. It requires a lot of experience from a paddler. It's very remote, and I just love being my kayak. It's a clean, natural type of recreation. We're leaving no trace.
Clipboards, all the surveying gear.
We might split it up maybe.
After all the preparation, after all the research, and all the background work has all been done, when the commute has ended, the boats sit on the shore, waiting to go, and the time finally arrives for the trip to get underway. Between Neah Bay and Cape Flattery, the last few miles of the Strait of Juan de Fuca, the shoreline is a collection of towering cliffs, rocky fingers and shoals, and small sandy beaches.
The exciting thing for us is to be able to go to places like this and survey things, be able to walk on beaches really that very few people get to walk on. And to do that for something as important and as valuable as these surveys is a real honor and a real pleasure, I think, for all of us.
The coastline at the Cape is a series of sheer vertical cliffs, riddled with sea caves and arches, and punctuated by intimate pocket beaches that are almost completely hidden from above. The entire area is a lesson in geology and the relentless forces of time. The stacks that stand offshore were once part of the mainland. Over the centuries, the wind and the water have worn away the connecting ground, leaving the bony fingers of stone to stand in solitary testimony to the powers that shaped them. The arches and caves give some idea of how the centuries to come will continue to shape the shore, and over time, the eroding power of the sea will turn these impressive stone formations to rubble as well. The beaches that are here, and there are only a few of them, are sheltered from the waves in the channel. The quiet, sandy folds are cloisters of peace in an otherwise dangerous world. Tatou Island sits directly off of Cape Flattery like some sort of geological afterthought, catching waves, wind, and current from all directions. The island's shoreline is a mix of stone and cliff faces, but there are several places where it is possible to come ashore. The difficult part of making landfall on Tatou is actually getting permission to do so. The island falls within the boundaries of the Makah Nation, and the tribe generally discourages visits by non-members. Once ashore, the team begins their first survey of the summer. The water, the land, and the sky itself are alive with activity. Gulls and other seabirds wheel overhead, and their cries provide a constant background of primal sound.
As you can see, the marine life, even the mammals, are using this beach zone to come out and haul out and rest. And all this styrofoam and plastic and debris that's coming over, it gets on the beach, it gets injected into the food chain. They're affected by it, and it's going to be a critical tipping point. And that's why we're passionate about our mission.
Although the major concentrations of tsunami debris are not projected to hit the Olympic coast until October of 2012, individual items have been arriving since the fall of 2011. Mixed in among the flotsam that has come from other sources, the plastic bottles and the net floats, the buoys and the scraps of styrofoam, a few of the larger items that were washed to sea in March of 2011 are already here, on a windy, rain-soaked stretch of sand not far from Cape Flattery. The team makes a discovery that immediately brings the magnitude of the human side of the tsunami story into clear focus.
This is a similar piece of wood to what I found earlier. And it has the same marking on it that I found earlier, but in this one, it's pretty clear it came from Japan.
It says JP-5501125. Below that it's H7. And then it looks like it says NPC over on the side.
So everything we found here so far this afternoon is looking like this was actually someone's bathroom. All the items are, synonymous with something you would find in the bathroom, medical supplies, and so forth.
Farther down the coast, on a rock-strewn beach near the Chilean Memorial, the team finds a soccer ball, the leather inscribed with faded Japanese characters. Although they couldn't read what was written there, they knew immediately that what they had found might be significant.
We've stopped here at the Chilean Memorial to pay our respects, and we have found this soccer ball with the kanji writing on it. So we'll take it back and see if we can't trace it.
The kanji writing, once it is translated, shows that the ball has come from the Atsuchi soccer club in the little Japanese coastal town of Atsuchi, one of the hardest hit by the tsunami. Of the 16,000 residents, more than 10% lost their lives when the waves hit, including the town's mayor and many of the first responders.
So we found this container, and there's obviously some liquid in it. I took a smell a little bit earlier. It does have a chemical smell to it. Can't really find any real identifying marks on it as far as the point of origin, but we're going to go ahead and take a sample of it, take it back to our science team. Maybe they can identify it. And as this is a hazmat, we'll mark it with some hazard tape and GPS location. I'll leave it up here. Hopefully somebody can get it off the beach.
As we made our way down the coast, we've come across debris of all kinds at every beach we've come to, but by far the most common has been styrofoam, foam to plastic. It comes in all shapes and sizes, in all different colors, but eventually it all gets down to the same thing. It gets down to the smallest levels you can imagine. You can't even see them, and that's where the real danger lies.
Some days are for working, some days are not. Although the ongoing motivation for the expedition continues to be the marine debris surveys and the search for tsunami-specific items, a day spent at play is a great way to regenerate the mind as well as the body. Offshore are islands and stacks that call out for a quick visit in nimble, unladen kayaks. There are waves to surf, creeks and trails to be explored. Although the Ikkatsu team has had good luck with the weather for most of the expedition, this shoreline is known as one of the most dangerous on the west coast, and the conditions here can change without warning. The rocks and the reefs of the Olympic coast have claimed many ships over the years, and countless lives have been lost. The Norwegian Memorial stands in the woods just up from a deserted stretch of beach, where, on January 2nd, 1903, the bark, Prince Arthur, wrecked on the jagged rocks, lying like hidden teeth in the angry breakers. 18 of the 20 crew members were killed, and still lie here near the memorial, laid to rest in the scrap of the ship's sail, covered with the Norwegian flag. Many others ended their voyages along this lonely strand as well, their final landfalls unmarked, and their fates largely forgotten. Concerns about the possible radioactivity of some of the tsunami debris center around the accident at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant, located not far from the epicenter of the quake. Because the critical phases of the nuclear emergency did not occur until days after most of the debris had been washed out to sea, the likelihood of radiation contamination was not a major consideration. Still, the team used a Geiger counter to monitor the items they surveyed, finding no evidence of contamination.
almost 3 weeks of paddling what I consider to be the most beautiful coastline in the world. There are a lot of hikers, and we did see quite a few hikers in certain spots, but they never saw what we saw. And I do feel privileged to be able to see that from the cockpit of a kayak.
Well, the trip's been a wonderful experience. I've been paddling the Roadless coast. Surprisingly, the link from La Push down to Ruby Beach here has been one of my favorite spots.
So we're at the end of the trip, and kind of been well, right now it's a bittersweet experience. I feel really proud about what we've done. I think we made a huge significance and contribution. I know it's probably the most proud that I've been of anything that I've been involved with.
With regards to tsunami debris and what we had expected to find, I think we found more than we had expected. We found it earlier in the trip. Certainly the southernmost beaches did not have as much tsunami-related debris as we could identify. But debris in general was everywhere. I think that's my takeaway from this, is that something that is so permanent should never be classified as disposable.
It's been very educational. It's been emotional. We got word that the soccer ball that we found is going to be returned back to the club. That brings a lot of satisfaction.
I'd also like to thank the Surfrider Foundation, Kokatap, and my two good mates for sharing this adventure with me.
After almost 3 weeks of paddling and covering more than 100 miles of coastline and doing 9 complete surveys on a variety of different kinds of beaches, different kinds of circumstances, we were able to get off the water, take a look at some of the numbers that we'd come up with and some of the data that we'd found, and see if we could find some trends. And we did. What we found was fairly surprising.
Now, I'm not a scientist. That wasn't my role in this project. But while I was entering the data, I did want to crunch the numbers and take a look at it. If we use Tatou Island as our baseline, there was a beach just to the south of Hobart which had a 2,000% increase in flotsam. 2,000%, that's significant. Now just to the north of that, there were 2 other beaches that looked like they even had more debris on it, but we couldn't get to those because of the tide levels. Whether this is Japanese tsunami debris, at this point, it's kind of mute. There's a significant amount of flotsam on these beaches, and this, what I thought was going to be a one-off project, I think it's going to be a multi-year endeavor.